Amy, let me tell you about a magical place that is so exactly designed to be enclosed space, year-round fun for the whole family that I bet you already know what I'm going to say before I even say the name. Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Great Wolf Lodge. You got it, Amy.
My kids loved Great Wolf Lodge when we went. You probably already know that it has a huge indoor water park with a wave pool, lazy river, a bunch of massive water slides. But then your pack can hit the other attractions because, wait, there's more.
Great Wolf Lodge has adventure-packed attractions like Magi Quest, a live-action game kids can play throughout the lodge, plus the Northern Lights Arcade. Spent some quality time there, so your kid who loves the lazy river and your kid who loves fantasy games will both have a great time.
Great Wolf Lodge also offers great dining options and complimentary daily events like nightly dance parties, all under one roof. Unpack the car once and you're settled in to have fun. And with 22 lodges across the country, you're always a short drive away from adventure.
We've both had such great times at Great Wolf Lodge, so bring your pack together at a lodge near you. Learn more at greatwolf.com and strengthen the pack. It's on like Donkey Kong.
What fresh hell?
Laughing in the face of motherhood.
Very Game of Thrones.
With Margaret Abels
and Amy Wilson.
Let's blame the mother.
A podcast that solves today's parenting dilemmas
so you don't have to.
So it's like if you want kids never to fight, then they should live in different states and they'll never fight.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to What Fresh Hell, Laughing in the Face of Motherhood. This is Margaret.
And this is Amy. Today, we're asking the impertinent question, do siblings need to be close?
Why is it an impertinent question? Doesn't impertinent mean... I have to open the Amy dictionary. Give me impertinent.
Impertinent isn't exactly naughty, but it's like, what a strange question. Of course they need to be close.
Impertinent question. Yes. I mean, I don't find it impertinent because my answer is no to maybe, but let's see where the day takes us.
Right. So this took me places I didn't expect. So this is a different question than sibling rivalry, which we have done episodes about. We'll link to them in the show notes. And just to set what that is and why this is different. So sibling rivalry is exceedingly, extremely normal for kids who have siblings.
Sure.
Particularly when they're younger.
Sibling rivalry is just like we compete a lot. We...
Yeah. The
who's first to the car? Yes.
Butting heads and competition. It's much more intense in earlier years. It's also much more intense when kids are very close in age.
Yep.
It can be more intense if it's, the boy years old or whatever. There's different studies on it. But good news, it's completely developmentally appropriate, if annoying, when you're living with it. I'm going to quote psychologist Amara Khalid here. She says it's very natural for kids to have competition with each other. And another dial is their relationship with the parent. And that kids perceiving they're being treated differently by their parents, awakes this like lizard brain thing. He's getting more worms than me, right? In the nest. And that's what sibling rivalry comes from.
Oh, yes. And I watched a documentary once and it was 2 spoonbills and the babies. Every time the mother left the nest to get worms, one of the stronger one would peck the littler one to death eventually. It was so sad. Like I didn't sleep for like a week after watching it. But I mean, literally, this is a biological imperative at a very deep level. Like, I survive if I kill the other one. Now, that we're not recommending for sibling relationships, but these things go deep, right? Like, your survival is based on divided resources at a certain point.
That's right. So anyway, if you have, I had 2 boys who, when they were little, were just at each other. They still have, like, scars from where they scratched each other and pinched each other. And
I can show you right here. You can't see it probably, but that's from my sister scratching me.
There you go. And when you're in it, I guess this is what gave me the idea for this episode. I remember being in this moment. My kids don't get along and being very vexed by that. Like, but they have to get along. They're brothers.
Right.
You're going to spend the rest of you're supposed to be close. The reason we had a second kid is so you could love each other and play together and be close. And it starts to feel like something that's terribly important that they get along.
Yes.
And that it is something that I, as a parent, need to be figuring out, and the sooner the better.
And facilitating and making happen.
Right.
And I'm going to say at the beginning, a hot take. See also having children. So that I think we all have children, imagining 6 people around a table. There's a fire going, maybe in the fireplace. Everyone is laughing and sharing stories. And, that's what a family looks like around a table. Maybe it looks like watching your kid play baseball the way that you always did. Or maybe it looks like your kid becoming the ballerina you always dreamed of. Your picture of your family, and that picture involves children who support and love each other throughout their lives and make life easier. But that, as always, when we picture anything, we're picturing a version that does not exist and that we cannot control fundamentally. And I think the idea of I'm going to have another kid. I have 3 kids so that they'll always have best friends throughout their whole lives.
The idea that being close is better than not being close, and that bad things will happen if they're not close, and that's something that
you can make happen.
Control as a parent. So my research today led me to pretty interesting ways to reframe this idea. Because you can't make people be different. But there are things you can do, one, and what the goal is might not be everybody has to be close. That might not even be the best goal.
I agree with that.
So Amara Khalid says that, interestingly enough, for all the emphasis on sibling rivalry, sibling closeness, so that's good, right? There shouldn't be sibling rivalry. There should be sibling bonding and closeness. And so how do we get that, right? Surprisingly, that has not really been studied that much. She points out that it is the most enduring of all familial relationships. You will probably live in relationship to your siblings longer than you will live in relationship to your parents.
That's an interesting point that I hadn't thought about, for sure.
And your parenting partner or spouse, that will have known my siblings for hopefully many, many decades when I'm gone. So it's the most enduring one, and then it's understudied. Lisa D'Amour, our friend Lisa D'Amour.
Yes.
She says, I think the influence of siblings on each other is an area in psychology that has not nearly received the attention it deserves. She says anyone raising more than one child or who grew up with a sibling knows that sibling relationships play a powerful role in affecting who we become.
Absolutely, as does, I'm thinking of our recent conversation about daughtering and just the way that siblinghood is its own job or role in the world. What kind of sibling are you? And that there are kind of rules for siblings, and that when you hear someone who might say, oh, I don't speak to my sister or brother, that feels like that's the bad version of siblings. They're not close. But those things happen for a lot of reasons. And also, I know from talking to my mother as a therapist that sibling closeness can have its own fraught problems.
That's just it. That the axis of closeness and conflict, that's not the same thing. That's an X and a Y axis. There have been a few longitudinal studies of when siblings are young, are they close? Do they stay close? And the sort of obvious answer is yes. If they're close when they're little, they're close when they're older. If they're not close when they're younger, they're not close when they're older. But guess what? The level of conflict is not directly correlated. You and I could be sisters who talk 3 times a day and we're inseparable and we're best friends. What's our level of conflict? It's not 0. We're fighting constantly over nonsense, right? And we love each other, and that's how we show we love each other. But closeness and conflict is sometimes they both increase. On the other hand, we see each other at Thanksgiving and Easter, and we like each other and we get along, and that's about it. Is very low conflict often.
I am thinking about my mother talking about working with siblings and families and saying, which blew my mind at the time, and now it's one of those things that I see everywhere, that conflict is more close than neutrality. So if you and I are seeing each other at, Christmas and once over the summer, you and I are sisters, Amy. We're seeing each other. We update each other. Maybe we talk on the phone 2 or 3 times a year. That takes a confidence in our bond. Our bond is okay. We can talk to each other when we want, when we not. We go our separate ways. But Like if we were enmeshed, we were very, very close in a way that might not have been totally healthy. Fighting is closer than neutrality. So we might be more likely to fight with each other because it makes us feel closer to each other than neutral. Does that make sense the way I'm explaining it?
Yeah. Yeah. And so the idea that siblings need to be close, I mean, I'm skipping to the end here a little bit, but it's like, what does that even mean? If they're inseparable, then they'll probably fight all the time as adults. And that might be fine. That might be how they show love. Or they might not have much of a relationship and there's no conflict, but it's peaceful and they're both fine with that. And it's hard to argue that that's a bad outcome. It's just a different outcome.
Yeah. I mean, I find this instinct in myself in my marriage. My husband is very, very even-tempered. And he is just like calm waters all the time. And I sometimes, in what I have come to understand is a need for closeness to him, pick crazy fights because I just want us to be feeling something together. Like I need the fight to prove that we're still together almost. You know what I mean? And I think that comes up with siblings a lot.
So just to take it even a step back, right? So we haven't really, like we think that siblings, Lisa D'Amour said, there hasn't been enough studies of this because clearly siblings are incredibly influential, but we haven't studied it. So it's like, well, are they? Are they important? So taking an even bigger question, we assume that early relationships have an important impact on our lives. That's Freud's whole thing, right?
Yep.
And then John Bowlby, who was the inventor of the idea of attachment theory, they were all about early relationships, but they cared about one early relationship, and it was with the primary caregiver, who was the female 100% of the time.
Let's blame the mother.
Right. If you had a good relationship with your mother, then everything's great for you when you're an adult. And if you had a bad relationship and everybody had some form of a bad relationship, then, you know, your mother messed you up. They weren't really interested in the sibling thing. It'd be interesting to know, did Freud have a sister? I think he had a sister.
It sounds right.
I didn't.
I know he had a mother,
but,
that's for sure.
And Bowlby, I know, because we've talked about it. John Bowlby, the founder of attachment theory, grew up like in an orphanage and had thoughts about
fascinating
about parents. So both of them had maybe unusual situations. But yes, okay, I think I do buy into the idea that your relationship with your parents is your earliest relationship that sets you up for how you approach relationships in your life. Yeah, I buy into that. And so does that transfer to siblings? Seems like it must.
Yeah, but siblings are, I think you can also have like a very strong parental bond and then a bad relationship with a sibling. I famously was the youngest of three. We were born every single year for 3 years. 5 years later, along came my little sister. And I was 5, like the cute young thing. And then came a baby. And I was demonically annoyed with her arrival.
Completely developmentally, appropriately mad.
And I believe for me, possibly crossed the line. I'll give the brief story because I think I've told it on the podcast before. My kindergarten teacher called my mother in because I had drawn a picture of a pregnant lady and then a woman holding a baby and then a gravestone with my sister's name on it. And the teacher tried to be like, oh, this is the cycle of life. Like, here's the mom pregnant, that she has a baby, and then long later, the baby dies. To which I responded, some babies die soon. And my kindergarten teacher called my mom in and it was like, you might want to watch her around this baby. Like, she's really not adapting well to this baby's arrival.
It's very Game of Thrones.
And I'm not going to lie. I mean, I look back on it with amazing shame now as an adult, but I tortured my little sister. Every single thing she ever said, I was like, that's stupid. Stop talking. Like, I hated her as a 5 to 12-year-old. I mean, I got over it at a certain point. I mean, she didn't obviously start talking, I guess, until she was 3. So I think from the time she was 5, I was 10, to the time basically like I was 15, I just really was a net negative in her life. I mean, I was a very, very bad, mean sibling.
And did your mom, I'm curious about this now, looking at it from this angle, did your mom do things to mediate, to sort of encourage your playing with her, to like find a way in which you can be the big girl and you're showing her how to cut out paper dolls because she doesn't know how? Or was it just like, you're all here somewhere, we have 4 kids and it's fine?
Amy, I love a cliffhanger on the podcast. I'm going to answer your question after this break.
Hellions, it's time for some spring cleaning, and I don't just mean the coat closets. Doing your financial spring cleaning can actually be super easy when you let Monarch do your financial spring cleaning for you. One dashboard that gets your entire financial life organized. No more clutter, no more mess, no more logins scattered everywhere, just accounts, investments, property, and more, all in one place. Get your first year of Monarch for half off, just $50 with promo code FRESH. Monarch allows you to look not only at what you've already spent, but also to plan for the future. With Monarch, you can set savings goals, plan for big purchases, and notice spending trends before they become a problem. I can generate cash flow reports that show me what we spent this quarter, this month, what we're probably going to spend next month, and feel prepared, organized, and knowing how to plan for the future. No more surprises and a lot more clarity. Try Monarch. Use code FRESH at monarch.com to get your first year half off at just $50. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code FRESH. My favorite skincare products actually feel more like self-care, like they're so nice to put on and they smell so good that I'm actually happy when I get to that part of my day. And I swear that is how I feel about Osea's anti-aging body balm.
Amy, you are usually the lotions and potions queen on this podcast, but I have to say, hard agree.
Osea's anti-aging body balm is a liquid silk body balm that combines the lasting hydration of a lotion with the firming power of a serum, leaving skin smoother and firmer.
This body balm is clinically tested and designed to deliver visible results you can see and feel.
So we've gotten to use this product for a couple of months now, and I swear I have really noticed firmer and smoother skin, like on the back of my hands. It's like getting a mini spa treatment from head to toe.
Get a spring-worthy glow with clean, clinically tested skincare from Osea. And right now, we have a special discount just for our listeners.
Get 10% off your first order site-wide with code FRESH at OseaMalibu.com.
That's 10% off your first order with code FRESH at OSEAMalibu.com. Amy, when I'm having a good hair day, it usually makes my whole day better. And that's why on every day, I'm taking Nutrafol.
Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's the #1 hair growth supplement brand personally used by dermatologists. Nutrafol's hair growth supplements are peer-reviewed, NSF certified for sport, and clinically tested.
Nutrafol offers multiple formulas for men and women, tailored to different life stages and lifestyle factors, so you get support that's actually right for you. Adding Nutrafol to your daily routine is easy. Order online, no prescription needed, with automated deliveries and free shipping to keep you on track.
Let your hair be one less thing to worry about. See visibly thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair in 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol.
For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you visit Nutrafol.com and enter promo code LAUGHING.
That's Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code LAUGHING.
So, yes, she definitely did. I do think it was probably more oriented to like, be nice. You're not being nice. You're in trouble for not being nice. To which, because of my very deep intrinsic personality, I was like, let me show you how not nice I can be.
Right.
I just doubled down, tripled down, quadrupled down, quintupled down. Like, I just was not giving up any ground. I really do think that it affected my sister's life negatively. She went in to get like very badly bullied in grammar school, at which point I was like, I will kill those bullies. But I think I set her up for that bullying by the way that I treated her at home, honestly.
It's something that like Freud and Bowlby, I don't think really got into this idea that she had because of you, she had a different relationship with her parents. And because of her, you had a profoundly different relationship with her parents. Like your bond, you perceived her when the baby was born, right? That like,
yes,
this is going to ruin everything with my mom, right? And it's me, not her. That shaped you. And psychologists would argue, like, literally shapes who you are. Like, you are the person you are because you're third of 4. I am the person I am because I'm the oldest of 6.
For sure.
And the kids who came after me, the ways that they reacted, it teaches you who you are and who you are not.
Yes. It created, I think, a cycle of behavior where my biggest fear, obviously, a baby comes in and I'm not going to be loved as much, right? That's my lizard brain telling me that. Then I'm, writing stories about the baby dying. I'm being mean to the baby. I'm probably like hitting the baby. Who knows what the heck I was up to. And my parents are then disappointed in me and trying to discipline me. My story's coming true. And I become the spoonbill brother who every time they leave the room is trying to peck her to death because I feel that my story is coming true. And in my young person brain, the only way to fix that is to push her down further.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not working because my parents are like, you're gross. Why are you so mean?
Right. They love her more.
Yes. So it's going in circles and circles and circles.
It's like this book, Julius, the Baby of the World. Did you read that to your kids? I'm going to put the
No.
link in the show notes. Kevin Henkes. Some of my very favorite children's books are Kevin Henkes and this mouse. She's pretty happy with herself. She wears cowboy boots to school. Like, life is great. She's about 4.
She sounds awesome.
Julius is born. And she's like, Julius stinks. Julius is and the parents pick him up and stroke his sweet fur and they touch his nose and she's more and more like, ah. But then eventually a cousin comes for Julius, like at a party, like, he's ugly. And this girl is like, Julius is amazing. He is the baby of the world. So
that was me all over. And I do think like it's a deep biology that is worth understanding in the same way that like, I now have teens and tweens and the like adorable girl who's like, oh my gosh, I made handmade Valentines for everybody. And another girl is like, those are dumb and for babies. It's just, what are we doing to be like, I am holding my line as the top dog? Poor people, we're trying.
So there was this book originally published in the 80s called The Sibling Bond by Stephen Bank and Michael Kahn. It's recently out in a updated edition with a new introduction. So they argued this idea that siblings use each other in order to develop their separate identities. I mean, I knew birth order shaped my identity, but this idea that it kind of goes both ways, like, oh, you're the goody two shoes, well, I'm the rebel or whatever. You further define yourself. And then for the rest of your life, I've always thought of myself as a rebel or a goody two shoes, and it was because of your siblings.
Oh, this is exactly correct. Yes.
They identified 3 what they called classes of sibling relationships: close identification, partial identification, distant identification. And this is where this whole, like, is it good to be close gets interesting. Close identification. One example would be what they call twinning, which can be literally twins or just like they act like they're twins. They finish each other's thoughts. They dress the same. They act the same. What was that?
Identical cousins. The Patty Duke show. I mean, older than Goldilocks alert.
Back in my day.
We need
Below
like
the
a
dust
dinosaur alert. That's like,
even I didn't watch that. I just know that was a song that they played. Identical cousins.
Identical cousins.
It would be sisters, but because as one does have an identical cousin. So in cases of twinning, that's close identification, or sadly, in cases of trauma of an ACE's childhood, you and I, if we were siblings, might be very bonded if we're not sure where the next meal is coming from.
Right.
We're close identification. Partial identification, alike but different. I like you, whatever. We're not out to hurt each other, but we're not tight. They circled this in their studies as the healthiest kind of identification, which is interesting to consider. That's the place where one should be or one's kids should be. That semi-distant and therefore conflict-free or conflict-low is the thing that you're solving for.
Yeah, it's like the rope metaphor, right? We're tugging the rope, both of us, as hard as we can against each other, or we're just like holding the rope loosely, or we've dropped the rope and walked away. Like those are kind of the 3 versions.
Those are the 3,
of this.
Right. And then there's distant identification where kids, for whatever reason, are in a home where we're maintaining the relationship. It's sort of, they're indifferent as they age. Rifts happen. I know a family where this has happened, and they become frozen over time, but it's not even like they don't really speak anymore, these brothers, but we're not totally clear on why. Maybe somebody said something and nobody even remembers. And it ended with a whimper, not a bang. And there is no relationship.
Yeah.
Or we fought over the will and now we don't speak. And that was 10 years ago. And those are distant identifications.
I also think it's worth underlining the years, in my case, decades of dry tinder that lays between siblings. And I mean, my husband talks about this. My sister came over at one point to my apartment in LA, and I can't remember even what happened, but basically we're having dinner, we're laughing, we're having a great time. And then literally it was like this. Oh yeah, pass me that. Fine. Okay, well, fine. I said fine. Boom. She stood up. We started screaming at each other. She walked out the door. And my husband was just staring at me as if to say, what just happened? It was like a bomb exploded at the table. And whatever weird match was struck, and we ended up making up, it was fine. But like that ability to just go from 0 to 60 and the like, Amy, you have always been the one who thinks they blah, 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 but really that da-da-da, just that there's a ton of kindling that you're kind of wading through at all times. And the minute the match drops, it's on like Donkey Kong.
I just saw Esther Perel this week on Instagram explain, this blew my mind. It was, I think, mostly about romantic relationships, but in relationships, you globalize the other and contextualize yourself.
Oh, say more about that, because that's exactly right.
This is it. Say like we're sisters and, you're hosting Thanksgiving and we're sitting at 2 and it's 1:30 and I'm like, oh, the baby, I have to get some diapers, and I'm like, we'll get there. And I, show up at 3. To myself, I'm contextualized. The baby went down late and we're out of diapers. So I can contextualize and explain why I'm late for this, agreement that we had what time dinner was. Whereas you, because I'm the other to you, so you globalize as like, she's always late.
She doesn't care about me at all.
Right. She only thinks of herself. She always does this for personality flaw reasons.
Right.
And that made so much sense to me. Right. My own failings, I'm like, well, there's a reason for that. I didn't feel well that day, whatever. I wasn't really paying attention because I had just come in from the other room, when your story might be, you don't care about me or my children. And we do that. So that's an example of what you were saying.
So fascinating. And that is the kind of fight that I feel like I have with my siblings and people I know have with their siblings. There's a marital parallel. Like my story about you, Amy, is that you prioritize your family over my family within the world of our family. We're not actually related. So obviously I'm making this up. Then every time you do something, your baby needs to sleep a little bit longer, but here she goes again. That's right. Like you're feeding a story that you've had about that person since you were 10 years old. And you actually probably have some pretty good evidence for that story. Like, I'm not saying the story is false. It's just that's the kindling that's everywhere. And suddenly you have an experience, and I think most people have experienced this with their sibling, where you're 20 minutes late for dinner and suddenly the fight is like, you've never loved me. It's like, wait. How did we get here from like, I had to stop for gas on the way to dinner?
Right. I want to underline something you said, like, you might be right. You might have a sibling who is always late and who always, is a little thoughtless and da. But that sibling will always contextualize her own behavior in the moment. There's always an excuse for it. And so that person is always going to be baffled if you come at them, why are you like this? And it's like, the baby overslept. I had to get diapers. It makes so much sense to me. Oh, that's why fighting is so unsatisfying, because the other person literally can't see their point of view that you have, because they're globalizing and you're contextualizing.
And the roles are so well set. I have a friend who inherited a family business with her siblings. She was the youngest. Very large age span, like 15 years between the oldest and the youngest. They were then trying to run this company together as 6 siblings. And pretty much everything they said, they were like, okay, crazy. Like, she's the little sister. No one's listening to her, And of course, that's right. And of course, the 2 oldest siblings are like, we got this, guys. Don't worry. Like, of course, those roles, it was just interesting to see it play out in like a corporate. I was like, oh, that's what happens to everybody. But it's just very, very clear now that you're trying to run a business together. What's wrong with this?
Right. So to roll this back to the parent listening with the 5-year-old and 4-year-old who fight all the time, and they should get along so that when they're adults, they're not fighting over the family business like this. They're going to love each other. It's going to be amazing. The next sort of impertinent question is, can you even influence how close your kids are or how conflict heavy they are, which, as we discussed, is not necessarily the same thing.
You can definitely influence it, but I don't know if you're influencing it.
That's a good point. Well, all right. There was a study, University of Amsterdam, that pulled together all the parenting programs that were aimed at reducing sibling conflict and sibling interactions. And again, to give away the ending, their ending is like, it kind of works, but we can't really tell because there isn't enough research. So it's just interesting that this is, yet again, this hasn't really been studied enough. So they looked at parenting programs that were aimed at either behavior management training, like you're going to put them in the timeout corner and then you're really going to mean it or whatever, or mediation training. Teaching your kids, I'm not going to come in when I hear the fight start, I am going to come in, but I'm going to mediate and say, let's talk about whatever. You're training on how to do those things. They found that both of those did help in reducing the amount of sibling conflict in the home, which makes sense. You are intervening. There will be less fighting if you're trained in intervening more effectively. They couldn't really prove which approach was better. Of course, what that study didn't address at all is if you get your kids to fight less when they're 5 or 6, so they're going to be closer when they're, 29 and 30. So let's take a break. When we come back, let's talk about how we get to that.
I have a strong counterpoint when we come back. I have thoughts.
All my kids learned to swim when they were little. It was super important to me that they be confident and safe in the water. There was only one problem with that, taking them to swim lessons. I mean, the pools were freezing. There were always cranky adults doing laps right there. And it was definitely not, for any of us, what you would call fun.
Amy, heard. But now there's Goldfish Swim School. Goldfish takes a really thoughtful approach to swim lessons, combining research-based teaching with a warm, kid-friendly environment that actually helps kids thrive in the water.
Every detail at Goldfish is thoughtfully designed to create a golden experience, from shiver-free, warm indoor pools to comfy waiting areas for parents to professionally trained lifeguards on deck.
Goldfish uses an approach called the science of swim play, which combines guided play with proven teaching techniques to help kids learn to swim, build water safety skills, and gain confidence, all at their own pace. Lessons are designed to meet kids exactly where they're at.
If you've been thinking about swim lessons or just wondering where to start, this is a great opportunity. Right now, Goldfish Swim School is offering a waived membership plus your child's first lesson free at participating locations.
Just visit goldfishswimschool.com/free to find a location near you and enroll using promo code FREE.
That's goldfishswimschool.com/free, promo code FREE.
You know that thing where you get an amazing pair of shoes at a really great price and want to tell everyone about it? Yeah, so do we. Here at Designer Shoe Warehouse, we'll give you something to brag about, like the latest styles from brands you love, or the trends everyone's obsessing over, or shoes that make you feel like, well, you. So go ahead, show off a little. Find shoes that get you at prices that get your budget. Head to your DSW store or DSW.com today. DSW, let us surprise you.
And now, things kids think moms do out of total love for them, but that moms really do out of total emotional exhaustion.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast.
Let's have pancakes for dinner.
Let's play Who Can Be Quiet for Longest.
Sure. You guys can go ahead and make a fort out of the living room cushions.
Let's have ice cream for lunch.
Okay, you guys can watch TV all morning if you make your own breakfasts.
It's Yo-Yo Day, kids. You're on your own for all meals and snacks. I trust you to make good choices.
You know what, honey? If you go practice that awesome song upstairs for an hour, I'll give you $1 and you can come sing it for us all at dinner time.
You know what? No homework tonight. We're going to skip it. I'll just write your teacher a note.
It's pizza movie night, kids. Yes, every Friday. Let's lie down very still on the couch in our PJs right away.
This has been Things Kids Think Moms Do Out of Total Love for Them, but that moms really do out of total emotional exhaustion.
From the What Fresh Hell podcast. I think as we examine parenting trends, one of the things that we're finding out, which is not a blaming mom, which is not a you stink at this and you're ruining your children's lives, but that we're probably, I think, coming to some understanding that getting rid of free play and always having kids supervised by adults and maybe stopping conflicts too early and having children be like overprotected. And to some degree, like the whole snowplow idea, like our job is to move any obstacle out of their way. we're probably coming to some understanding that like, okay, we need a little bit more grit. Like kids need to face obstacles to develop their self-esteem, et cetera, et cetera. I think we also have potentially overcorrected for familial closeness as the top of the mountain. That like we are a group of family with 4 children. We are a group of 6 best friends. Like we support each other and we love each other and we're always together and we do everything together and it's conflict free. That is the ideal. And I think that that is not the ideal. That in fact, sometimes that's going to lead us to situations where outsiders have trouble coming into the family. Spouses have trouble finding their place in a family when the kids grow up and get married. It's like not a breathable relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And even so, I wonder, like, how do those families get like that? Like, is it about closing the circle and keeping outsiders out? I'm sort of saying you can't create that, but then some families have that. So how did they create that?
I think it's not just like closing. We're not talking about people who are like homeschooling their kids, living in a cabin in the woods and having no contact with other people. Like that's one very extreme example. But I think it is connected to this idea that we've kind of gone a little wrong on, that happiness is the top of the mountain of parenting, like our children's happiness.
I see.
Another consequence of that is like our children's closeness and our children's best friendship with each other is also the top of the mountain. And I think, first of all, it puts a tremendous amount of pressure on us as parents. And second of all, it's not even the best idea in the world. I think children feel, I say this all the time with my kids. I'm lucky to have a big family. I'm lucky to have a big family who likes to take my kids. But, I sent my kids overseas with an aunt, one aunt, this aunt. Do you want to take them on a trip? Like all of these people are available to give you the same experience that I give you as a mother. Not exactly the same. They're not your mom, but like there's lots of adults who love you and can take care of you and you could travel with. I think that gives you the breathability in the relationship to be like, I love my mom, but she's not my sun, moon, and stars. And I think similarly, you can love your siblings, but they're not like the most important other people in your life.
I'm starting to realize that closeness is not low conflict, right? So it's like if you want kids never to fight, then they should live in different states and they'll never fight, right? And
Perfect. Done.
And they won't be close, but they won't fight. But that teaching, you are spot on that we are now kind of like, there are a lot of kids who get to kindergarten and they've never lost a Candyland.
Yes, right.
And that's not necessarily the best answer. And that this pro-social engagement is what kids learn when they do have to figure it out themselves, where it's like, okay, the last ball we said was foul, and now this one we're going to say is in, and he gets to run the bases this time, whatever. That the more kids get to figure out that give and take during conflict themselves, and maybe they need to be given skills, and maybe they do need you to mediate. But that is how you become close. You create relationships through having fun and then having conflict, right? Then hitting that hurdle and then getting over that hurdle together and then continuing the relationship. That's how you become close with anybody.
That's how you become close. I'm thinking of, it's wintertime here and I was realizing last night, saying to my husband, while I was personally crawling out of my own skin, I forget that like the winter in New York and we've got piles and piles of snow and it's freezing and you can't go outside. I feel like I am trapped with these 4 people who I call my family, my nuclear family. And I want to get away from them. I don't want to hear their voices anymore. I'm really like tired of their faces. And I remember a February break a while ago where one of my kids was going on a trip with a relative. A relative was taking them somewhere, just themselves. And right before they went, they were like, I don't mean to sound rude, but I cannot wait to get away from this family for a week. And it hurt my feelings. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe my child is saying that to me. But as I look back, like that's a healthy thing for that person to say. It's healthy for him to be like, you're all annoying the heck out of me. I want to take a break from you for a week. And then when I come back, I'm not going to be as tired of you. And I think that sometimes we're so afraid of that sentiment that we don't let it. And I was afraid of it at the time. Like it killed me to hear my kids say that, like, oh, you just hate me and your dad and your, siblings.
Who
Like,
just paid for your trip? Right.
but he was
as I'm
right.
paying it back.
Like, I need a break from you people. You're annoying the heck out of me. Like, that's a very reasonable sentiment that should be encouraged.
So if you're thinking about, do I need to make my kids close? No, you don't. But in the interest of developing relationships and pro-social behavior, there's a difference between sibling rivalry. Yeah, like we can't hit, we can't pinch, we can't, slam the door on your sister's finger. Like that stuff's not okay. We used to have a sign in our house that said, no drilling your sister, because my kids had like a Fisher-Price drill that they just would vex. I mean, it didn't hurt.
Do not drill
but
the sister.
They would, don't drill me. And so we had house rules that everybody got to come up with their own house rules, no hitting. And she was like, no drilling your sister. So that was a hard rule in our house. But you could certainly fight all day about that's mine, no, that's mine, no, you do this, no, you do that. Like that part of it, I kind of thought they were the same thing, to be decreased in equal measure. But really it's like, you can't use your hands, you can't use your fists, but you can go at each other, you always, you never. Like, go ahead. Some of that is how you learn to be in a relationship.
Absolutely. One thing that we haven't talked about that I think is important to underline is that bullying does happen within families, within sibling relationships. It happened in my sibling relationship, and I was the bully. I think that sometimes we also feel like, siblings fight. I definitely know people, including my own sister, who were probably damaged by a sibling who they could not get away from, who was constantly bullying them. Now, that bully child has an underdeveloped brain. They might be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Watch what seems like funny or fun or harmless, or this is how kids behave.
It's not being mean. It's not being rude. I hate your stupid face. That's rude. That's not bullying. Mean. He threw a snowball at my face. Okay, that's mean. That's not bullying.
Right. Bullying is not meanness. And here is the definition, because I think it helps to make a difference. Bullying is repeated, unwanted, aggressive behavior intended to harm someone, involving a power imbalance where the target feels unable to defend themselves. And so that, I think, in families with older and younger siblings can come up very quickly, and it can be really harmful. And I think I was dismissive of it. I mean, my parents were probably too dismissive of it, but you've got to watch out for the power dynamics in a family where one kid is higher in the power imbalance.
But not it isn't like every time an older sibling punches a younger sibling in the arm, that's bullying, right? It's this insistent, consistent, persistent, every day.
Correct.
You're right. We don't want to be like, it's probably fine, and whistle past that.
Yeah, it's even better for them not to be close. Like, no, not if it's repeated, unwanted, aggressive behavior intending to harm, and there's a power imbalance. Like, those touchstones seem to me to make a lot of sense.
Okay, so here's what we're aiming for, right, for the siblings, and then we kind of hope good things happen in their adult lives. We aim for basic safety and respect and not bullying.
Safety, I was going to say, includes bullying, yes.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about this too, fairness or clear explanations for differences. Maybe one of your kids is high needs or special needs, and the other kid thinks it's not fair. That's something you can talk about, but being treated fairly doesn't necessarily mean being treated equally. Or maybe it's travel baseball season and, nobody's reading The Little Sister or Harry Potter at bedtime right now. Like, that is fair. It's just maybe not what you want right now.
And one other thing I want to underline there is your pain is in the gap. So what I was describing, I picture the perfect family. I picture everybody getting along and my siblings loving each other and looking out for each other. You might have siblings. I mean, one small example, I have 2 boys and a girl. I was raised with 2 sisters, and I was really heartbroken that my daughter would be raised without a sister. I was so upset about it. And it's fine. I mean, it's turned out okay. It's not what I would have wished for. You might have a kid with special needs, a nonverbal child. That child is going to change the dynamic of your family. You have to work with what you have, not some idea of what your family was going to be, because then you end up trying to force things and you're creating pain for yourself that doesn't need to exist.
Exactly. All right. So to review everything, if they're close when they're young, they tend to remain close. whatever close means. Does that mean they see each other 3 times a week, or does that mean they never fight? That your mileage may vary. Conflicts when younger do tend to result in maybe distance when older, but that might not be something you can totally control, as we were just saying.
Yeah.
Closeness doesn't necessarily mean low conflict. And again, you're not solving for, I want to make sure my kids when they're 35 don't fight a lot. Like, that's not really something you should spend a lot of time worrying about.
Yes. And I will say, just to put a cap on my own story, my sister, who I repeatedly tried to kill as a child, and I are besties now. Like, I mean, we really, really are close. We're raising our kids together. Like, it did work out okay after I apologized and continue to.
The resurfacing of ancient rivalries, which we talked about before. Like,
that's the match on the kindling.
What did you call it? You called it dry tinder?
Dry tinder everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. You can't avoid it. You just notice it. And that helps a lot.
Marriage counseling rules. You fight with I statements, not you always. You always. You're always late. I'm really mad because the dinner's cold and now we all have to eat cold food because you weren't here is a better statement than you are always late. You don't care about anybody else.
That moment that you said, like, all of a sudden there's a big fight and your husband's like, what is that? And you're like, it's fine. Because you in that moment were like, oh, this is ancient rivalries. This is dry tinder. Yeah, that's what this is. And then you immediately move into a place where you can repair.
Yes.
Or just say, like, sorry about it. It doesn't have to, right? You don't have to send a dozen roses. It's just, oh, that's what this is. I'm doing this thing that humans do. And you want your kids to learn healthy relationship skills, which are forged in conflict. And so low stakes, what? Get off me is probably more useful for their future closeness, not just with each other, but with other people than it might seem at the time.
Absolutely. This gives me a topic idea that we should do a topic that is on the difference between like enmeshment and closeness. What it means to be close. Because I think that there's a lot that we were circling around that's really about that topic.
There's close and then there's too close.
There's close and then there is too close. And I feel like we don't talk about that much.
You don't want the siblings to be too close. That's its own
really
problem.
Don't. It's not great.
Well, I put the links to the research, which also there's not enough research, but I did put the research that there is in the show notes for this episode and our past episodes on sibling rivalry, as well as our fresh take with Susan Dominus, who wrote a book about how siblings influence each other for the positive.
Yes. If you would like to support the show even more than you're doing by listening to it and hear a monthly episode that's kind of a behind-the-scenes peek at Amy and my life, please subscribe to What Fresh Hell Plus.
All you do is click the link in the show notes for this episode or go to our website, whatfreshhellpodcast.com. You subscribe to What Fresh Hell Plus in 2 taps. You keep listening where you're already listening. And you also get ad-free access to our entire archive of basically 1,000 episodes at this point.
We love to see it. With that, thanks so much for listening. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, everybody.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Selling your car should feel like one less thing on your list, not one more. With Carvana, it is. Just go to Carvana.com, enter your license plate or VIN, and get a real offer down to the penny. No back and forth, no surprises, just an experience you can trust. Like your offer? Accept it. Schedule pickup, and we'll come to you with a check in hand. Your car, your timeline, your terms. Visit Carvana.com to sell your car today.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.